Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Smasher. Told you, Johnny boy. Told you I'd end you someday.
Welcome back to the channel. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that everyone has heard of at some point. Some for good things, others, well, not so much. Such fame is warranted, of course, seeing as Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba are literally central characters in the game, and Giancarlo Esposito voice acted a character in the anime series Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which came out a few months after the game. The first official launch of the game was catastrophic in all regards. The original system requirements were through the roof, and even people with millions invested into their gaming setup struggled to run it properly. And even once they did, the game was chock full of game-breaking bugs and glitches. Some hated Cyberpunk 2077, others loved it. But almost 3 years later, with the release of the DLC expansion Phantom Liberty, the game received a massive update, fixing most of the bugs and overhauling a large portion of the gameplay, AI, and level up system, as well as a shitload of new content.
So go ahead and play. Just don't forget, the game is fixed.
So why did I bring up Cyberpunk today? Well, around 3 weeks ago, CD Projekt Red announced that no developers are currently working on the game anymore, meaning that Cyberpunk 2077 version 2.12 is the game's final state, and it will never get any better. So picture this. I was chilling in my room farming levels in Wuthering Waves when my friend texted me the news, which intrigued me because I learned that the final version of Cyberpunk 2077 came with extreme optimization. That was huge for people like me, who don't even have a semi-decent build for their setup. This meant that I could run the game at a playable state and enjoy it for myself. As I'm writing this script, I've spent over 80 plus hours on the game, beat the DLC, and got my secret ending titled Don't Fear the Reaper. So I decided to make a review where I share my thoughts, opinion, and whether or not I'd recommend the game to anyone able to play it in 2024. Without any further ado, let's begin. The game takes place in, you guessed it, the year 2077, in a fictional city located between San Francisco and Los Angeles, simply called Night City, which is ground zero for a strong conflict between major multi-billion euro-dollar companies and the local gangs and mercs. With the year being 2077, a lot of quality of life enhancements are available to citizens of Night City. For example, with enough money, one could extend their lifespan massively and get rid of aging altogether. The trauma team, which if you pay for a subscription, will always bolt to your location whenever your life is in danger and pull you out no matter what. A wide array of cybernetic implants is also available for public use, from simple enhanced vision eyeballs to literal cannon arms and cyber skeletons that let you move at hyper speed. However, as a side effect to having too much augmentations, a person might contract a disease that slowly chips away at their mental health until they eventually become what is known as a cyber psycho. At which point, they will lash out at anyone they see mindlessly until they are either incapacitated or put down. Usually the latter, as there exists a combat unit dedicated just for such cases. MaxTac, a specialized subgroup of the Night City Police Department, who are mostly former cyber psychos themselves, forcefully recruited after being apprehended. We play as V, a mercenary who can have 3 different backgrounds depending on your choice. I played as a street kid who grew up in Night City. You start by doing a job to steal a car, which ends up being a bust when another merc called Jackie Wells interferes. Then you both get beaten up by the police and dumped in the trash. Well, turns out V and Jackie got along pretty well, so they team up to do a bunch of gigs, get lots of money, and move up in the mercenary world. Eventually, they receive a job from a big name, Dexter Deshawn, and as a result, gets invited into the Afterlife, a club where all the major players of Night City, from Morgan Blackhand to Boa Boa to Johnny Silverhand, attended at least once in their lives. The job proposed to V, Jackie, and their Netrunner teammate named T-Bug was to steal a biochip from one of the most powerful companies in the world, Arasaka. This chip, also referred to as the Relic, is supposed to be able to store one's consciousness inside, as an engram, and thus basically grants immortality in case the user's body was to die, in the form of the chip being recoverable and placed in another body for the user's consciousness to inhabit. Oh, it also costs a fortune if you couldn't tell already. Goal in sight, Dexter tells V to go talk to the customer who commissioned them, a woman called Evelyn Parker, to gather more intel about the whereabouts of the relic, as well as to recover a small spider-like bot called the Flathead from a local gang for them to use during the heist. These two missions serve as an extended tutorial to the game, where you meet more characters and establish the world and factions. And it does a great job at that because just from those two missions, we get to know the Mox, Maelstrom, Melitech, establish a connection with Judy, see this absolute unit of a man,
You look like a cut of fuckable meat.
and the people will be stealing from, Arasaka. Okay, the intro to the game is great. It is everything you could possibly want in a video game. However, the heist itself is where the real shit kicks in. We infiltrate this very fancy hotel, disable security, and make it to the room of the son of Saburo Arasaka, the heir to the whole company and current owner of the chip we want to swipe. We grab the chip, but then this happens.
俺が生きていなくてよかった。これでもう誰のことも許す必要はない。I wish to put the hotel on lockdown.
May I ask why?
Saburo Arasaka has been murdered.
Code Red initiated. Attention! Code Red has been initiated throughout Kenpeki Plaza. Please remain in your rooms and follow all instructions given by staff.
That's right, Saburo Arasaka was murdered by his own son in front of our very eyes. And our hacker friend got fried. So V and Jackie try to make a silent escape. But they're found out. They fight their way out of the hotel and make it back to their transport. However, Jackie doesn't last too long due to a fatal wound he sustained during the fall, and passes the chip to you before he draws his final breath. We get back to Dex and, well, this happened.
Can't risk it, V. Remember our first convo? Seems I've chosen
I'll
the quiet
fucking
life
kill
after
you!
all. No blaze of glory for me.
The game starts here. Of course, and in true courier fashion, the headshot doesn't kill us. But unlike the courier, we don't just get to walk. The relic that was slotted in our head got damaged and is now leaking the personality within into our brain. We are basically getting overwritten by the construct and soon will cease to exist as V. Luckily, or unluckily for us depending on how you look at it, the construct is that of Keanu Reeves, or who is known to be in this timeline as Johnny Silverhand. a rebel/terrorist who nuked Arasaka Tower twice in his lifetime before he got caught and executed. It is at this point that we get our goal of the game: find a way not to die. Pretty simple, right? The game now opens up and lets you explore the massive city and its outskirts. Plenty of jobs and side quests are to be done. The gameplay loop is pretty addicting too, so much so that I'm already nearing the end of my third playthrough and I'm already playing a fourth one. It consists of doing side quests, gathering money, getting implants and new gear, which retrospectively gives you more ways to inflict murder on your enemies, which gives you more money, and so on and so forth. By the time you reach maximum potential, you are an unkillable monster that can take down armies with ease. Another thing which makes Cyberpunk 2077 so good is the cool factor it has. Basically everything you do has style. You wanna use a shotgun? Invest into the body skill tree and you can become the Doomslayer himself. You're more of an assault rifle, SMG type of guy? Get some reflexes going and watch as your enemies melt from the inside out due to how much lead you've pumped into their systems. Not just that, but if you want to, you can tackle massive armies with a katana if that's your weapon of choice. Deflect bullets like Kirito on crack and gut your enemies like the badass you are. Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't hold back its cool factor, but that doesn't make the game perfect. If I were to criticize the game, I'll have to mention the fact that even if you fill your entire body with chrome from a ripper, your appearance won't change in the slightest. The only exception being your arms, which look different depending on which arm implant you're using. Like, you could be a full cyborg and still look completely organic for some reason. Also, in the vanilla game, you're limited on how much cyberware you can put on your character by slots. Which makes no sense. You should be allowed to put on a Sandivistan and Cyberdeck at the same time. Hell, there are enemies in the game that have both, so why can't we? Weapon customization is god awful. Silenced weapons aren't actually silenced unless you kill instantly with them. Sniper rifles are the worst weapons you can use because there is rarely any safe place to snipe from, and even when you do manage to find one, you'd rarely be able to use it. Quick hacks are brokenly powerful, but the way you apply them is ass. They are directly tied to your hardware instead of your skill as a netrunner. Like, come on game, I have experimental hacking tools that can literally breach the black wall and upload yottabytes upon yottabytes of furry porn directly into the memory of some guy, which we still can't upload a quick hack to an enemy through a camera without being traced somehow? It's so weird. Another underdeveloped part of the game is the way you use your money. Like, you can buy apartments all around the map, cars to travel around, cyberware to pummel your enemies, but that's it. Money is completely useless other than that. Sure, you can bribe/pay some people to do you a favor or share an info with you during some missions, but that's rarely ever useful. Why can't we buy a business, start or join a gang, get AVs, get hirelings? Hell, just let me call Delamain for a cab to drive us to an unmarked location. Overall, there are plenty of aspects about the game that could definitely be improved/reworked to make it better. But Cyberpunk 2077 is still a great game as it is. For the vanilla game, I'll have to give it 8.5 out of 10, but with the right mods, Cyberpunk 2077 deserves a solid 9.5 out of 10. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and press the subscribe button for more video game reviews, video essays, and gameplay. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.